morning. Welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy. I hope you're doing well today. So I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about today. I'm actually planning on doing 3 videos on this subject because it's so lengthy. But I want to rewind back in time because I've been getting all of these downloads about the numbers. And, you know, I've been talking about numbers lately and how certain numbers reflect the primordial mother and our original hologram that was intended for the earth. This was the original divine hologram by God for the earth. And it's tied up in different numbers, and all the numbers mean everything. So I'm going to go back and I want to talk about the planets, and I want to talk about before we had an inversion on our planet, when it happened, and all of these other details. And we'll just take it on out. So what I want to talk about first is Saturn, Venus, Mars, Adam and Eve, and what is called an AIMEE. Now, the AIMEE thing is really, really interesting. And I've put a bug in quite a few of my content creator friends about doing an episode on the AIMEEs, because this is like one of the biggest things in plain sight that nobody talks about. So this is going to be a revelation episode. We're going to connect Saturn, Kronos, the so-called castration myth, which is actually a cosmic hysterectomy of the primordial mother. It was not a castration of a father, okay? We're going to talk about Venus rising, Mars as inversion, Eve as the first AIMEE, which AIMEE stands for Artificially Integrated Mother Entity Experiment. Okay, the M1 artificial mother timeline, M1 is Mother Hybrid 1, and the hijack womb numbers 13 and 28. I talk about 28 all the time, including how this shows up in our celebrity culture, twins, IVF patterns, and even national infrastructure like the M1 motorway, Highway 31, Highway 13, Highway 28, Route 66. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And a lot of these roads are used for trafficking, okay? We'll also thread in Tiamat, the Tudor Rose or the Venus Rose, the Axis Mundi, Aldebaran and Taurus, and the correct geometry. And this is a lot, okay? All right, so Saturn. Let's talk about Saturn first. Saturn always wasn't what it is now. Like when you hear people talking in these SSP programs, they talk about Saturn is the control mechanism for the whole cosmos. And it wasn't always that way, but you have to think about it. If you're going to do something, to take over something, dominate something, control something, you're going to take down your most powerful pieces first, just like in chess. So in the Golden Age, Saturn was the planet of projection and structure. The rings were not prison bars, but they were sacred circles, just like the mother showed me the first time that I met her face to face in this lifetime, and I was aware of it. She showed me a circle, and she's always told me that she flows clockwise. Okay, so the rings were not prisons. They were sacred circles, gateways of initiation, keeping the family safe and time in balance. Saturn's true job is the circle keeper. The circle keeper, not the jailer, okay? All right, so there's a story about Kronos and the castration. So in Greek, there's a myth that says that Kronos, or Saturn, cuts Uranus, and from the blood seed that falls into the sea, hey, Venus rises. Most people call it a castration myth. But if you go back and you look at it with your new eyes, Kronos encodes the word to cut and horn. Which horns? The horns of Taurus, okay? The bull that carries the Pleiades on its back. The horns mirror the uterine horns, folks. The uterine horns of the primordial mother. That's what the horns mean. It's a replication of the female fallopian tubes, okay? All right, so what was cut wasn't masculine. It was the cosmic womb. This was a hysterectomy of our primordial mother, folks. After the cut, we got the false firmament, which is like scar tissue laid over the earth. And this was the first fracture, okay? So even so, life cannot be killed. So from the sea foam of that womb, when they're talking about in this Chronos story, Venus rose, Earth's twin, and the spilled life force of the mother. So when the primordial mother was, as they said, castrated, but when she was given a hysterectomy, what ended up happening was her blood spilled into the sea. And this is where Venus came from. So when she was telling me, and I kept saying, I really felt like Venus was Earth's twin, it is. It's its trauma twin. This is why when you're from these very, very, very old bloodlines that come from star blood, there are a lot of twinnings in the family. Okay? Because you have trauma twin. You have a trauma twin, or you're born with your twin flame. All right. So in the sky, the Eye of Heru pattern of injury is formed every 8 years because Venus draws a perfect pentagram. The Venus rose, or the Tudor rose in later years, in the sky. So Venus is the scar turned into beauty. And this is proof that mother's codes are surviving. Okay? And I have such an affinity for Venus. And my grandmother, who's crossed over, she's in Venus. She takes care of children that have died, that are being, from abortions, that have had traumatic experiences through these RSA groups. This is what my grandmother does. And this is what my lineage does, as we come from the primordial field before they were formed. And we carry these codes that are from the primordial mother. And it has to do with nurturing children and life in all of its forms. So Mars was meant to be the wolf shield. And my father's line, Randolph's, I know they come from Mars. After Saturn's inversion, Mars flipped into a predator war maker instead of being the protector, because we were these lupine protectors. This is why wolf is encoded in my family name. It's because of Mars. And so Berlin, Germany, Berlin, Wisconsin, which is a Great Lake node on the Great Lakes grid, New Berlin lore on Mars, the masculine pole, including many red line bloodlines, which mine is a red line blood. It's Randolph, just like Rothschild. That means red shield, which means they're shielding the blood of the primordial mother with holograms, with false overlays, with control mechanisms. See, there's a difference between Randolph, which is wolf shield, and Rothschild, which is red shield. So you have this red cloaking that's happening, and you have this wolf shield, which means that we're protecting these bloodlines. But my family got inverted too, so we won't get it twisted. So, this Mars got tangled, and it became, instead of a protector, it became a predator. So our work is to flip Mars back to the guardian. And see, this is where I believe that Archangel Michael was hijacked, was in Mars, which was in Mars. All right, so today we see the myth in our bodies, because in the last 50 years, global fertility rates have dropped more than 50%. So wombs are under stress, clearly. So everything that's happening in the hologram is affecting our reality. It mirrors. So when natural fertility declines, the hologram, of course, is going to offer you an artificial fix, right? Because they want to keep us anchored in this matrix, okay? So we're offered artificial reproduction, like IVF, or have somebody else carry your baby, or synthetic wombs. We have these guys that are transitioning to these women, and then they want to have these fake wombs put in. These are all program distortions. Men that are wanting to have wombs put in, it's because they're under programming, plain and simple. They're in this false holographic matrix overlay, plain and simple. So I want to talk about this AIMEE, this artificial mother, this artificially integrated mother entity, AIMEE, or M1. This is the origin of M1. So people think that Adam and Eve were the first pair, and I've talked about this Adam and Eve myth a couple different times. The older story is not Adam and Eve, it's Adam and Lilith, okay? And I've talked about how this is overlapping, and to the studying that I did on Edgar Cayce's books, I went back and reviewed all the Edgar Cayce books, because my grandmother was a huge proponent of Edgar Cayce's stuff, and she talked about him all the time. So I wanted to go back. Was one of the first things that I did was taking Edgar Cayce's material apart and seeing if I could connect it to any other work. And so one of the things that kept coming up was that we are going into what's called time of the lily. And the reason that I relate this to Lilith is because if you look at the lily plant itself, the lily plant itself does not need anything. It pollinates by itself. It reproduces by itself. It's all one plant. It's carrying all the codes. It's carrying all the codes. So this means this is time of the lily is about Lilith, because Lilith is carrying all of the primordial mother's codes. Okay? She's an original. She's an original. Remember when I was telling you that when I first became, I separated, and I call my other half that's in the fifth dimensional space Theo. My higher self is Theo. I call him Theo because we are a pair. He's mirroring me from the fifth dimensional space. Okay? In the beginning, we were androgynous, and then we separated, and we became separate, masculine and feminine. Okay? So this was the same thing that happened in the beginning. Okay, we have Adam and Lilith. Adam and Lilith were the original pair, not Adam and Eve. Okay, they were the true soul pair. They were equal, sovereign. They were connected directly to the primordial mother stream. Lilith would not submit. She was erased, and in her place, Eve was engineered. Adam's DNA came from his rib. It says right there in the Bible. Adam's DNA was spliced with outside DNA to create a submissive woman, Eve. Eve was supplemented with reptilian genetics, okay? This created the first AIMEE, an artificially integrated mother entity. Eve was the prototype of the M1, the artificial mother timeline, designed to reproduce humanity outside of the primordial mother's womb, okay? All right, so this was hybridization in plain terms. So, you know, think of like, and this is how you get the M1. Okay, I had a purebred Briard dog, and he got cancer. When I started doing research on Briards and cancer, it was brought to my attention through a lot of research that like a huge percentage of these dogs get cancer, and it's because of their purebred genetics. Okay, so I was told that, you know, if you get a hybridized dog, that they'll have a longer life than a purebred. I've always had purebred dogs my whole life, and it just was luck that I got them. So if you have a purebred dog as the mother's original template, and you hybridize it, if you breed that purebred dog with another dog that's not the same kind, right? It's a different species, you get a hybridized dog, okay? So that first puppies, those first puppies from that litter are your first class hybridized, okay? They'll usually say F1, H1. They always put a code in front of it. Okay, well, with the mother, when they created Eve, she was an AIMEE or an M1. M1 prototype, okay? All right. So the more that is replicated, you go from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3 to 3 to 4. See what I'm saying? And the further along you get, the less and less of the original codes stay. See, this is why it was so important in ancient times when we were controlling the way that people were having children. And it was not about what we have as the inverted eugenics that's happening now. it was a way to keep everyone's star codes and their connection to the divine in place, okay? It was all about keeping us in the right frequency with our DNA to be able to connect with Source, with God, with the primordial mother, okay? So the Venus rose and the 8-year pentagram is the cosmic rose, the mother's geometry in motion. The Tudor rose from back in the day on top of the cross, that's a union of red and white after the War of the Roses, but it's also a symbol of the candy cane. And we've talked about when this inversion happened, we went from a candy cane, which, you know, we're living in a hologram, okay? It's our crystal dome. So we had a candy cane, which was the Christ blood, and the Christ is the solar sun, and the mother's a menstrual blood. And together they twist, and they created the candy cane, okay? All right, so the Tudor rose was actually saying, hey, this is us. We have primordial mother's codes and the solar father's codes. This means that we have the primordial stream. We can go through any stargate here. We can go north, south, east, west. This is why they had a cross that looked like that on their heraldry. They were considered themselves the rose, okay? It's all about where you can go in the galaxy. It's seriously, this is what it all sums up to. All right, and you know what? This story goes through so many different lenses. You've got the Babylonian myth where Tiamat, the ocean mother, is slain by Marduk. Her body split into sky and earth. The primordial womb is cut and reorganized, okay? So we've got Marduk right here. This is the same thing. This is the exact same thing. This is when they, instead of castrating Kronos, this is when the primordial mother was given a forced sterilization. Her womb was severed, okay? In Greek, we talked about the Kronos cuts the horns from the Taurus womb. Venus rises from the womb. In Hebrew, it's Lilith is erased, the engineered Eve or AIMEE to anchor in our M1s, right? In the Egyptian myths, they talk about Osiris being cut into pieces, and Isis remembers him, and the mother restitches the axis. So they look different. They're one timeline, the mother's womb, and the overlay that followed it, plain and simple. Okay, so now I want to go into the next aspect of this, and this is where I was talking about the numbers. And I've talked about 28 being such an important number. It has to do with the menstrual cycles of women. And there's also many notable people that are born on the 28th, and they have a mark on their face, and they're in the celebrity scene. They're involved in these programs, and it's because they're here to hold a false hologram, okay? All right, so number 13 is the mother's lunar number. There's 13 moons in a year. There's 13 blood cycles. Also, the family twinning blueprint is 1 feminine plus 2 masculine equals 3. Mother is mother plus Mars protector plus Saturn structure equals creation. Okay? 28, the monthly womb rhythm. Average menstrual cycle, and it's the cycle of renewal. Remember in Egypt, they worshiped the beetle because it rolled his dung ball to the edge of the water in the 28, and it followed a 28-day cycle, okay? The inversion hacked both the number 13. It was made into unlucky. I mean, go in a hotel and find a 13th floor. There's not one. I mean, they've completely cut her out, right? And 28 was ritualized. The goal is to make us fear or forget the mother's time codes, okay? So let's talk about how this number is reflected in concrete and all over the planet. Okay, you've got the UK M1 motorway. It's 193 miles. Okay, you reduce that down, 1 plus 9 plus 3, that equals 13. All right, and then 1 plus 3 equals 4. That's a base foundation grid. And the very name M1 signals the artificial mother overlay. Okay? All right, so I'm going to even take this a step further, and I'm going to list a whole bunch of celebrity numerology, AIMEE patterns, the 1328 inversion, twins, and IVF in our celebrity circle, and just how prominent this is, okay? This list is even longer. So this is not about blaming anybody, okay? Because we can't put blame on anybody. Most of these people that are in these programs, they have no idea that they're even in them because they get wiped. Some of them, yeah, they do know. Some of them go along with it. Some of them have an awakening later on and they realize that they've sold their soul, right? They've sold their consciousness and they're being reproduced, okay? This is the same thing that happened to Paul McCartney. This is why Billy Shears is the replacement for Paul McCartney in 1966, killed on the M1 motorway. Okay, you can't make it up. All right, Princess Diana, she died 8/31/1997. This equals 31. It's the mirror of 13. In 2025, it's the 28th anniversary, 28th womb rhythm. Okay, let's talk about George Michael. He got in a serious crash on the M1 motorway in 2013. Okay, here's the 13 again. M1 plus 13. So we've got the M1 motorway and the year 2013. And he died on December 25th, 2016, which was a Christmas overlay. His favorite day of the year, Christ Michael Coates. Okay. All right. So Paul McCartney. We have this Billy Shears lore. Born 6/18/1942. This sum reduced to 31 again, mirroring the 13. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The album that names Billy Shears has 13 tracks. Okay? Note, now Paul is dead. The Billy Shears swap is urban legend. Included here as cultural lore because we don't want to get in trouble. Okay? So Lady Gaga, born 3/28/1986. 28 in the birth date. Womb rhythm again. Her album, Art Pop, that was released in 2013. There we go. Number 13 again. Julia Roberts. She was born the same day as me, October 28th, except she was born in 67. 28 in birth date, and then she had twins in 2004. Amy Osborne. Now we're getting into the Amy archetype. Amy is the eldest daughter of Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne. She's present in the lineage when you look up the kids, but she's off camera doing the Osbournes. She's seen, yet she's missing. So she's echoing basically the Amy archetype, the mother without the mother. Plain and simple. So let's talk about the IVF echo that runs all through Hollywood, okay? And this gets insane. Now, these twins are born as an inversion for securing this holographic homosexual overlay. This is why the women in Hollywood are trans men and the men are trans women. And you can go and look for yourself. So anyway, okay, so we've got twinning Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. They had Vivienne and Knox in 2008. We've got George and Amal Clooney, twins Ella and Alexander in 2017. Dennis Quaid, twins via a surrogate in 2007. Celine Dion, twins, boys via IVF in 2010. And Celine Dion is an interesting one because we know how she grew up. With the man that she married, he was also her groomer, right? She had twins. She's from these bloodlines. She's French-Canadian. She's probably Holy Grail bloodline. She carries primordial mother codes, okay? And she's truly an inversion. I mean, look at how sick she looks now. And I would speculate it's probably because she's not drinking the gold juice anymore. When you stop drinking the gold juice, it's what happens to you. Because you've morphed your biology. You've morphed your biology. Okay, so Julia Roberts had twins in 2004. Okay, let's go into the big one, Elon Musk. He is the tech node of the Amy pattern. I mean, let's just go on. Griffin and Vivian, twins via IVF, 2004. Kai, Saxon, and Damien, triplets via IVF, 2006. Strider and Azir, twins with Siobhan Zillis in 2021. Widely reported as IVF, not completely confirmed. His total child count edges towards or past 13 because we've not confirmed that the children that Amber Heard had were actually the ones with Elon. But it's possible because Amber Heard, she carries the codes. She was born in May. So twins are sacred in the primordial template. One essence and two poles, like the fasties, like Abraham Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial. He's sitting there with two fasties on each side of him, and I've summed this up as to being the Temple of Solomon. In the middle, balanced, masculine and feminine, okay? It has to do with the primordial template, okay? So the family blueprint 13 is 1 feminine plus 2 masculine equals 3, okay? The divine blueprint family is 2 males, 1 female. I had 2 brothers. I'm the youngest. This is the blueprint of the Trinity family. I carry the codes. My brothers are the protectors. Okay, so this is how it works. 1 feminine, 2 masculine equals 3. This is Mother's, Mars protector, and Saturn structure. Okay, twinning, 13. 1 essence becomes 2 poles, but remains unified. Okay? Y soul pairs often carry 13 codes. Okay, Taurus, Aldebaran. Taurus's horn equals the womb. Aldebaran, the bull's eye, is a watcher stargate of the primordial guardians. When the horn was cut, 13 was hijacked. Aldebaran lines, which is the red, wolf, and bull protector lines. This is my family, one of my family lines, is the wolf. They were scattered to hold fragments of the code. Okay? All right, so AIMEE in pop culture name and songs. The list is endless. The name AIMEE repeats as a cultural broadcast. Britney Spears. If you see AIMEE, this is a phonetic code. AIMEE imprint. Amy Winehouse. AIMEE. Haunting repetition of the name. Green Day. AIMEE. This was a morning invocation. Many actresses, musicians are named AIMEE. AIMEE Teagarden, AIMEE Carrero, AIMEE Allen, AIMEE Osborne as the present but absent archetype. This isn't random. This is archetypal seeding. The artificial mother meme is embedded in sound and in story. So we have this triangulation of false versus true geometry. So the false triangle lock is Saturn as a warden, Mars as war, and Nibiru as chaos. And I just got a thump on my watch from Thea. Okay, the true triangle is supposed to be Saturn, the circle keeper, Mars, the protector wolf shield, and Venus, the healer or the love. That is the original triangulation, okay? All right, so we dissolve the lock by replacing Nibiru with Venus in the triangulation, okay? And by visualizing Saturn's rings as golden circles, again, while calling Mars back to guardian instead of predator, okay? So Saturn circles sacred, Mars guards with love, and Venus completes the triangle. Nibiru is neutralized at that point, okay? So overlays are holograms. The mother's template lives. Return to 13, okay? Use the number 13 to the lunar mother family twin code. Stop fearing it, okay? There's no reason not to get on the 13th floor. It's baloney. It's all programming. It just shows you how far they're willing to take the programming to the 19th degree, okay? So honor 28 as the living womb rhythm, not as a ritual tool. Flip Saturn back to the circle keeper. Flip Mars back to the protector. Honor Venus as the scar becomes beauty. So we're going to restore soul pairs. Lilith's memory is rising. I'm seeing it everywhere, folks. The primordial mother is coming back into the regular stream of news and information that's coming out. So, you know, this consciousness is weaving its way back into these families. It is. So, you know, we're not just here to worship the scar. We're here to heal it, folks. The mother never left. The firmament is just a bandage. And the rose is still blooming, babies. And we're the roses, okay? So, family, this has always been one story told through many lenses. The Tiamat, Uranus, Lilith, ISIS. It's all the same wound. It's the same overlay. The AIMEE M1 program is recycling the number 13 and the number 28 twins and culture to keep us entrained in this false holographic reality. But we remember now, okay? We're remembering now. So we're going to take 13 and 28 back. We're going to restore Saturn's circles, Mars' shield, and Venus's rose. We're going to honor soul pairs, protect children, and let the primordial mother's template rise again. And this is the correction of our time. So I would love to hear what you guys think about that, because I just find this very fascinating. And we're actually going to take this a step further. I mean, this was 7 pages of notes that I took this morning. I've been working on this for several days. Plus, I'm having to draw out the design layout for the community garden. So I've been being really, really super busy. But when I come back, we're going to go to part 2. And we're going to continue talking about these, this 28 and the 18 inversion. We're going to talk about how it has been completely trapped and woven into our reality here to keep us in this frequency scar overlay, and how we're going to get out of it. But first, we got to know what's going on, so we don't step into these paths. Because what happens is that these groups, they give you soft disclosure. You know what I mean? They're going to tell you what you're going to do. And the reason that they tell you what they're going to do is because the way that the universe works is that you have to be in agreement for someone to do something to you. You have to agree to it. This is why you have to stand in your sovereignty. And you say, no, I'm not doing this. I don't agree to this. I'm a sovereign being. I am a sovereign being. So, you know, we have to return the power to where it goes. We have to take back the sovereignty to the Divine Mother. And so with that, I'd love to hear what you have to say. We're going to go further and further on into this, we're going to break down more of these people, like we talked about Lady Gaga in my last one in the 28 series. But we're going to talk about Elon next, Elon's family, and Amber Heard, and how all this has to do with it. We're also going to talk about Paul McCartney, a little more about George Michael, and we're going to talk about one of these MK Ultra survivors, Kathy O'Brien, and how she talks about some interesting paths that are quite alarming, because they're the same paths that I've taken myself. So with that, when I come back, I will get more into this, and you come and find me. I'll be here. We're living past, present, future, all at the same time, folks. So don't forget to get outside today. Give thanks to our Heavenly Father and the divine primordial Mother Earth. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.